not cooked live together in a while, and I feel like nobody actually cooks live anymore, but I am home alone making dinner for one, and I just thought that it would be lovely if we could do it together. My goal is to do this in 15 minutes. I just got back from yoga. I picked up a piece of salmon on the way home. We're just going to get cooking. I turned my broiler on. I'm going to start preheating this skillet over like just shy of medium-high heat. I'm going to sear this salmon in stainless steel. Stainless steel can function as a nonstick as long as it's appropriately preheated. So I just want to get that pan really nice and hot until a bead of water dances nicely around the surface. That usually takes like a good 2 to 3 minutes. There's no fat in the pan. You want to preheat it dry. I've got a bunch of, this is quite a few beans. This is a bunch of Haricots Verts, so like French beans. I'm just trying to line them up so that I can trim all of them together. There's more than I like, but again, we're not being perfectionists this evening. I'm going to broil these green beans. She missed a couple tips here. Broiling green beans is a delightful and very fast way to cook them. Maybe 8-ish minutes underneath the broiler, and they'll get really tender and a little bit charred and crispy, which is delightful. So I'm just going to hit these with a little bit of olive oil, and then we'll do salt and pepper too. And I have 1 can of Great Northern beans. I wish I had like butter beans or even cannellini so that they'd be larger, but these will be great. I'm just going to char these beans and then toss them with the white beans and like a simple mustardy vinaigrette, and I'll put my piece of salmon on top. It feels very French of me. I just threw a bean on the floor. Hopefully Taco will get that. I don't think he likes beans. All right, so I'm going to spread these out in a somewhat even layer. My broiler is on. I have the rack positioned as close to the broiler as possible. I always have 1 rack just hanging out up there because girlfriend is a big fan of the broiler. And where's my bench scraper? Please hold. If you are just joining our impromptu live cooking session, we are making dinner for one, and we are doing some seared salmon with a little French bean and white bean salad. All right, we need a little bit more time here, which is perfect because it will give us time to prep the salmon. So this is like a 6-ish ounce center cut fillet. So I'm going to grab a smaller cutting board. I have this monster carving board. This is a Sonder LA walnut board that I use for all my prep, and then I have these smaller Epicurean boards, which I really like for proteins just because I do not want to have to sanitize this giant wooden board, and these can go, I think they're a composite bamboo board, but they can go directly into the washing machine. She is, oh no, I have some paper towel here. All right, first things first, I am not a salmon skin person. If you are, you could easily leave the skin on. In that case, I would score it a tiny bit because the skin shrinks up when it hits the pan. So if you just do some very, 3 little scores, it will help the skin be able to expand and not shrink up. Instead, I'm going to remove the skin. So I'm just going to create a little flap right here. So we want to waste as little fish as possible, but I've created this little flap, and then I can insert my chef's knife. I'm not like a 45-degree angle here, just applying medium pressure as I grab the skin and run my knife along the fillet so that I can remove this piece of skin here. Then I'm going to pat this dry with paper towel. Moisture is the enemy of a good sear, so we want to get that really nice and dry. And then I have never mind. I got 2. This pan's getting too hot. I need to wash my hands quickly. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rub the fish with a little bit of oil. and then season it on both sides with salt and pepper. I prefer to oil my fish versus putting oil in the pan, just because that way there's less popping and spitting of oil. It's just cleaner and easier. I'm using a little bit of avocado oil because I let that pan get really hot while we were doing other things. Avocado oil, nice neutral oil with a higher smoke point than olive oil, so we'll have a little bit less smoking going on. So just oiling it with one hand, using my clean hand to season this with a little bit of salt. Get this side a little bit more. And then, please hold. Where's my pepper? Do a little bit of pepper too. It's always the hardest part about the lives is always the live hand washing. All right, so a little bit of pepper going on top. Now I took it out, you guys. It's a science. We got to give that like 30 more seconds to heat back up, and then I'll pepper the other side of the salmon once it hits the pan. But I need some tongs. Can she find her tongs? All right, so here's how this is going to work. I'm going to put the salmon in the pan with the skinned side up. So we want the portion of the fillet that has no skin on it, the prettier side, to hit the pan first. It's going to get a really nice sear over medium high for like 4 minutes, and then I'll give it a flip and turn the heat down to medium low and let it finish cooking a little bit more slowly. So this feels pretty good. Get a nice little sizzle there. Let this cook away for a bit. Get this out of the way. Again, this is why it's nice to have these smaller synthetic cutting boards. Grab myself a clean knife over here. And already our beans are getting a little bit of char on them. So pull these out like this. And you can see how there's already some browning action here. So I can just give them, can she do this? Just give them a little bit of a toss and a shake. They're very hot, so be careful with your hands. You can use tongs for that. And then these are gonna go back underneath the broiler for a bit. And we gotta drain and rinse our beans. So I'm gonna open these bad boys up. I think this would be, as I mentioned, if I had cannellini beans or butter beans, that would be really delicious. Lentils would also be very good here. Like, could have a French lentil and Haricots Verts salad, which would be delightful. But instead, oh yeah, so Great Northern beans are on the smaller side. They're going to work for us here, though. I'm just going to drain these in a colander in the sink, and I'm going to rinse them really well with water. The liquid in the bean can is it's like just very viscous. It's a lot of starch and salt, and I'm just somebody who prefers to always rinse their beans. I have a really hard time digesting unrinsed canned beans. So just keep on rinsing until you don't see any of the like sudsy bubbles on them anymore. These beans sadly are kind of mushy and broken down in the can already, so they're not going to be the best texture for the salad I had in mind, but beggars can't be choosers, and sometimes we're just working with what we got. So I know you're just staring at a stovetop and nothing right now, but I had to keep rinsing those beans until they were ready. So now they're hanging out in the sink. I'm going to turn this down ever so slightly. I'm going to flip my fish in like, I don't know, probably 2 more minutes here. 2 more minutes. It's getting a nice golden crust on the underside. It's tempting when you're searing something to like check on it or move it about, but the best thing that you can do is just leave it undisturbed so it can develop that really beautiful crust. I can smell things happening in there. All right, we need a big old bowl that we will use for tossing this bean situation. I'm gonna make a really simple mustard vinaigrette. So do I have whole grain mustard? Please, please. Yes, she does. All right, so I have this whole grain mustard here. Dijon would work too, but I love a grainy mustard. It's not quite as sort of sinus clearing as Dijon, if you will. It's a little bit more mild, but I probably have like, I don't know, 2 tablespoons of that whole grain mustard. And then we have, sorry, it's neighbors coming home time for taco. He must protect me. And then I'm gonna add probably like a tablespoon and a half, taco. Thank you, bud. Of red wine vinegar and some olive oil, probably like 2.5, maybe 3 tablespoons. And then give this a nice little whisk here. We'll need a little bit of maple syrup too. We got to keep it close. It's okay, bud. It's okay. Got to keep a close eye on our beans. Give them like 2 more minutes. And my salmon, give that a little flip-ski. Pan was a little hot, but we got a nice sear on the top of our salmon over here. I'm gonna turn this down and then just let that finish cooking. I like my salmon like just shy of medium, so we'll let that cook over a bit lower heat now. We will need just a touch of sweetness. You could use honey. I just have like a tiny bit of maple syrup that was sitting here, so not a lot. Maybe a half teaspoon here just to balance the flavors. And this is gonna be like a very mustard heavy dressing. Okay, we'll do some pepper. Honestly, I like very punchy vinaigrettes. It's a personal preference, so I'm gonna add a little bit more vinegar in here, and then just a touch more maple syrup. There we go. Give that a little whisk, and you can see it's pretty nice and thick here. Yum. All right. See these beans? We want them even more shrunken and charred like this, or I do. I'm using the royal we, but I like things quite charred, so I'm gonna let these keep going. Usually it takes, I don't know, wouldn't go past 10 minutes under the broiler. They don't need them, but I often serve, if you do diet dinner time, there's damn good green beans, and that's essentially what I'm making with beans mixed into it. But it's a really easy side dish. You could add nuts to it. Like I love a toasted walnut in it. You could add some shaved parm. Actually, speaking of things we can add, sorry, Taco. Do I have chives? I had chives yesterday, but maybe not today, which would be very sad because we would like some sort of herb. Hold on. She has thyme. A little bit. Ooh, chives. Chives. They're not looking great. They're not looking great, people. But some of these, we're gonna get rid of these like sad top portions. And then a little bit. This is not a chive knife. We need sharper knife. Sorry, and I did not close the fridge all the way, so now it's beeping at me. All right. Now, has anybody seen the rate my chives thing? I love it, but when you're thinly slicing chives, you want to sort of think about like running instead of coming straight up and down where you're smooshing the chives, you want to think of sort of gliding your knife through them forward, like I'm pushing my knife forward here so that I can keep them really nice and fluffy and bright. And they actually have like a more fresh flavor when they're like this. Somebody once said they're like, chives are the worst excuse for an herb, and chives are my favorite herb. They're peppery, they go with literally everything. I just am a huge chive fan. All right, my salmon is finishing up. We should have, my broiler has stopped, you guys. I'm not crazy. The broiler is beeping, which means that it's not all the way on. So we're gonna call it, because these are tender. These are tender enough. We've got a little bit of char on them. Yum. Okay. Honestly, green beans. I love green beans, and green beans is like olive oil, salt, and pepper. Just charred like this. Very easy to eat. Very easy to eat. That's it. That's it. We'll leave it at that. All right. So, beans in. Salmon, turning it all the way down to the lowest setting just so that it can finish a bit more gently. Toss the beans with our chives, with our little mustardy vinaigrette. Yum. We have plenty of vinaigrette in here, like you could do, if you wanted, I mean, you could also add a grain in there. These beans just are terrible looking, you guys. See how they're like a mush like this? Don't worry, I'm not going to throw them out, but I'm going to save them and use them in a soup tomorrow. I also have this can. I can't put this in here. It will just be a disgusting, mushy mess. I have these canned lentils. We're pivoting. We're pivoting. We're live and we're pivoting. I don't even need to use my can opener. It's a pop top. Okay, let's hope for the best here. Otherwise, she's going to be eating a full legume salad. Honestly, these look great. Thank God. Thank God. These need to be rinsed too. These are just cooked lentils. So I'm giving them a quick rinse. Quick rinse, because they're probably pretty salty too. Honestly, any canned vegetables, I'm always rinsing them just so that I can moderate the salt, because we can always add more salt. But if they're starting out really salty, that can be problematic. So I got cooked lentils now. Phew. I was going to be really sad if I had to try to convince you that my bean and green bean salad was delicious, when honestly those beans would have just been sad. It is, but we're not talking to them right now. We're cooking. All right. Let's see. Beans and lentils tossed with this dressing. Let's see how we're doing now. Yum. It's like a French cafe. Such. All right, my salmon's done. Been hanging out on low heat. Surprise of all surprises. She's going to use a shallow bowl. Taco. It's okay. So we're doing beans. Taco. If anybody's still here, sorry about my dog. Anybody with a dog in an apartment knows this witching hour time of night when all of the neighbors are coming home. All right, we've got our beans and lentils. I am going to grab some clean tongs. Clean tongs, watch out, tacos. Salmon. And then, what are we doing? Yeah, it's like, please hold. We're searing the side a tiny bit. It was a very thick piece of salmon. Very thick piece of salmon. Give it 60 seconds. All right, to finish, last but not least, I'm gonna grab, what kind of nuts does she have? Some walnuts. That sounds nice. A few walnuts. We are not toasting them tonight. Ain't got time for that. I also think some Parm would be delicious here, but we're just doing some regular regular old walnuts just so that we can have a little crunch factor here. I lied, you guys. I said we weren't going to do it. I'm going to do a little bit of Parm too, because more is more. Does she have a little bit of Parm? Let me grab my microplane, and we will do a little finishing touch. Little finishing touch. Walnuts, Parm. Yum. And there we have it. There we go. And do we have any last little chives? Because we deserve to make things pretty for ourselves. Chives on our salmon. Old black pepper. And I think that's it, people. Did we go? Honestly, it was about less than 15 minutes. Or less than 20 minutes. 15 minutes? Salmon, French bean lentil salad, walnuts, Parm, mustard vinaigrette. Thank you for cooking with me. We haven't done one of these in maybe like 6 months, so thanks for hanging out. I will see some of you soon. Have a good night. Take care of yourself. Good night. How do we end it now? Did she do it?